Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Cherise Walker, your host, and today I'm here with Christiane Schroeter. And she is an entrepreneur just like you. She has kids and she does a lot of other things. And so I actually like some of the things that she's done. So I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and then we will go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So hello there, audience. And of course, I'm always super happy to connect with anybody because you might hear some of the things I'm going to talk about. You're like, oh, yeah, I've been there, done that. So I'll share some secrets and I'm going to share also some of the struggles, the S's and the S's, right? Because we always want to make sure that we normalize when things maybe don't go quite as great, because that's when we learn a lot as entrepreneurs. So I live in California. I'm a professor. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation, and that's my full-time job. And then I use a lot of the things that I teach in the classroom and teach clients in masterminds. I teach one-on-one classes. I teach small group classes that are very focused, like 2 to 4 week programs. And I really want to elevate entrepreneurs to go after their dreams, right? We all have big dreams, but sometimes we don't know how to get there. So I'm a very practical, hands-on coach that really guides you through it step by step. And the concept that I use, I call petite practice. So taking small steps, especially you heard I'm a mom. I work full time and I have a lot of different other things going on. So we sometimes don't have like a full day to focus on something. And so the petite practice allows you to do small little bits here and there, but still see a lot of progress because you're constantly, continuously moving forward.
That is such a good idea. And it is so true because it's like, okay, well, I have 20 minutes right now.
Mhm.
I'm currently sitting in my car because things didn't work out. And you talk about we're moms, we have to juggle. And so I'm like, okay, son, you finished doing what you're going to do. I got about 20 minutes. And so I think that that's the way to do it with business too, because otherwise you just feel so overwhelmed. So what a great idea.
Yeah, I always say tomorrow will never come. You know, the best day to get started is today. So it's not like we have to wait for New Year or we have to wait for something magic in our life. Any day is a great day to get started. And at the same time, of course, any day is a great day to get started with sharing that you are going to start it too and not keep that bottled inside, because sometimes we are nearly afraid as entrepreneurs in letting others know, oh yeah, I plan on writing a book, right? So last year at this time I started sharing I'm planning on writing a book, and people was like, oh, what's going to be about? And they thought I'm like writing a novel or something, and I was like, well, what do you think? I mean, you know me, right? I'm a pretty business oriented person, but at the same time, I'm not going to write like a book that you have to read and listen to. It's going to be hands on, it's going to be packed with worksheets. So, the book that I wrote, How to Master Your Goals, is in essence a collection of worksheets that you could do in 5, 10, 15 minutes to build your business. So it's these stepping stones that will really lead to the next result. And I'm using it in the classroom, I'm using it in my workshops. And then when some of the people saw it, they were like, oh, that's what you were writing. And I said, oh, yeah. But again, sharing is what helped me kept going because people kept asking me. I remember being at a social event and they were like, how is your book coming? And I was like, yeah, I need to get going. And
No.
it helped me, the accountability. I was like, oh my gosh, I better get my act together. People ask me about this, right? So that helps a lot.
Yeah. And I love that you said that because it is accountability. Like last year, I threw out there on Facebook all my goals for the year, and I was inundated by people in person, online. Oh, Sharice, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh, dang, now I really have to get it all done. Right. And so it does, it helps you be accountable when you actually declare your intentions. So I think that that's really good.
Yeah, and one big thing I just did last week, and
Goodness.
I did that for the very first time ever, is
Mhm.
I took my calendar from 2024 and month by month I wrote down what I accomplished. And
Wow.
and it was a little bit of like do I really have to do this? This is like so time intensive. But I wrote it down for January. That's the only month I did so far, I'm honest with you. And I was astonished.
Yeah.
I was astonished. I was like, I did this in 2024.
Mhm.
I mean, of course, it's a long time ago now, but at the same time, we just don't look back often enough and celebrate our wins. We don't really sit down at the end of the month and say, okay, so what did I do this month? It's so important as entrepreneurs because we tend to always strive for perfection and look forward. But looking backward is actually when you really get the motivation to keep going on those days when maybe things don't work out as planned, right?
Yeah. Like today. All right. So you have a podcast and you are in the top 1%. So what did you learn setting that up and how did you climb so quickly?
Now, that's a great question. When I started my podcast, it was kind of like when I said I wrote my book. I basically didn't even look to, oh my gosh, what equipment do I need to establish? Do I need a recording studio? Do I need somebody to edit? I basically sat there and I put my blinders on and I said to my husband, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast. And he said, okay. And I said, well, I need guests. Do you want to be my guest? And so he was like, okay, what does it entail? And I said, well, I ask you questions and then you answer and we record this right here on my cell phone. And I think that that's really what made me climb to the top. That's like super authentic. It's very much like having a good conversation with a friend. So I interview people, they share their stories, which usually there is again a struggle, there's a challenge, but there's a win. And that is, I think, what empowers others, that it could be so real, so raw, but at the same time, so simple to just start a business, succeed in a business, but also look at what maybe didn't work out and still keep going. So I think that's the formula that we sometimes tend to overthink. And then because we overthink it, we never get started, right?
Right.
And I just got started and kept going. I was like, okay, so every week, that's a lot of podcast episodes. So maybe I just do like every other week and I put it in my calendar. Every other week it pops up, new episode. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I better get my act together. I have to publish something. So it's the consistency, but also I would say the authenticity. And at the same time, I keep it very relevant. That really creates this magic formula for me.
That's great. I always hear consistency, authenticity. Those are the two things that you just have to make sure that you do and that you like what you do, right? Because people can see that as well.
Yeah, and then it actually sometimes when you feel like it's forced, it's very visible, right? So a couple of days ago, I just recorded a video that I'm going to use to apply to become a TEDx speaker. And I sent that video to my friend. And yesterday we met and she put her face really close to the camera and she said, so what happened in that video? What was going on with you? And I was like, she was like, you're not feeling well. Why did you even record it? And I was like, oh, you can tell? And she said, of course I can tell. And so I thought, all right, so yeah, you can't really play a role. If you are, then your audience can tell. And you know what? If you're not feeling well, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah.
Why don't you say, all right, so I'm not feeling well. So today, here are the 3 tips that I do when I'm not feeling well. And this is what helps me. So make your misery your message, right? Because we're not always 100% on, and nobody expects that from you. But what do you do in those moments when you are not on? I think that's really the trick, that you have to be sharing that. Just like in the classroom when I teach, sometimes I'm like, you know what I told you last week, I actually thought about this. There's a better way I can explain this. And so this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to re-explain this concept and you let me know what really clicked with you, because we are all humans. We don't have the answer for everything, and nobody expects that from you either, right?
And I think that that is so important because in the world of social media where you can only see certain things that no, there's such a behind the scenes picture. Like my son currently is sitting right next to me in the car, right? And waiting to go. And so I think that we just have to make sure that we we're human and to show the human side. I do this TV show and I just got the segment back and I'm like, I look like I'm out of breath. I look like, what the heck? And same thing, what was going on that day? So the more real you can be and just be open about stuff, I think the better.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, and it's amazing that you're doing a TV show. How inspiring.
Yeah. Okay, so you're obviously an entrepreneur. You teach entrepreneurship. So what are some tips that you recommend to get your business, like if it's a startup, one tip for the startup, if it's you're wanting to scale, and then if you're thinking about exiting, do you have some advice?
Yeah, so my biggest advice to you, I kind of boil it down to like an acronym, and I call it get out of the building. Especially if you work from home, right? Goop,
Yeah.
get out of the building. You have to talk to other people. There's no way around it. No business, product, service will ever survive in isolation
Mhm.
because your product has to meet the market. And at that point, if that bridge is not strong enough, it's probably not going to make it. So, how do you know the pain points of your product if you never talk to your target customer and you actually listen how they describe it, the words that they use? And I mean, it's in essence, we are always worse listeners than what we are really like people that just want to sell something. But in the interview, when you talk to your ideal client, you actually have to be the best listener ever and just tune in and let them do the talking. And at that point, then you go back and you refine your product, right? That's my best piece of advice.
I always talk about that because you have to have relationships. It's all about relationships. And if you don't get out of the building, I love that. That, yeah, you're not building the relationships. In my industry specifically, it's become a community market leader or influencer, meaning that you go, people have to know who you are, know, like, and trust. They have to know who you are. And if you sit in your house all the time or if you sit in an office, they can't get to know you. So that's good advice that not a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, and I think what's important too is, as we talked about earlier, like sharing on social media, we sometimes expect there's this curated image. But
Mhm.
I would encourage you, you should, for instance, if you do an interview with somebody, maybe even have like a B-roll of how you interview that person from the side instead of just sharing the final product, the edited interview. Show how you're setting things up with that client. I mean, I take pictures all the time
Mhm.
where it's like this really weird angle and I talk to somebody via Zoom just to show them, all right, yeah, I'm talking to somebody. Or
Mhm.
then I show them like when I meet somebody in person or I'm in the classroom because I want that they see this is what I actually do.
Mhm.
And it's not just the final product. This is the work that goes into this, right? And I think that especially as an entrepreneur, that is when the true motivation comes in because when you share what you heard, and I call that moment like the dilate your pupils moment, when you see like your ideal client, it's like, oh, that's what you do. That's really what you want to get. But you only get that when you actually talk to them in the first place.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Mm.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a minute and let's talk about momhood. Because you do have, I know, at least one child. And so, how difficult is it to kind of, I hate the word juggle, but to be a mom and be an entrepreneur? How do you do it?
Yeah, they're probably out of a week. They're probably like 3 days when I'm wondering why am I doing this, right? To be honest with you, we got it right there. And then I'm like, oh, well, I guess I could just sit on the couch instead of whatever working on a book that I'm writing right now. But um, I think it's tremendously difficult. And then it comes back to why. Why am I doing this? Right? Is it, I mean, I hope that if you're doing something, starting a business, it's not because of the money, because it is a very bad motivation. I mean, of course, we have to feed our families, right? But the why for me is I want to inspire, I have two daughters. I want to inspire my daughters that they can go after their dreams. And that might mean that they might need to be bold, start their own businesses, and create ripples in wherever industry, wherever area they're going to go. And that really only works if I model that too. It's just like when, you tell somebody you need to eat more fruits and vegetables. Well, you actually need to eat them yourself too. Otherwise, it's just like empty words. So when I do my business, oh, they see how I'm struggling and they see how I'm succeeding. And they frequently come in and they see the messy middle, I call it, right? So that is why I'm doing this, because I want to raise responsible individuals that actually know that you can go after your dreams without a big startup capital, without a lot of means, just by putting your mindset into it and your grit and hopefully keep going, right? And I think that as a mom, you have a tremendous amount of responsibility in raising somebody, and they have access to so many resources now, right? Very different from when I grew up. And plus, I mean, they have a coach in the house too, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad.
Right.
But at the same time, I really want to encourage them that they should go for it. And I think that the momhood, even though it is a struggle, my children are both actually producing goods that they sell. They're very entrepreneurial. They go to business fairs and they have their own little jobs.
Mhm.
And that's really my goal, that they need to look at this as something that needs to be ongoing. Like, how can I how can I make money as a female? How can I use my skills, my resources, really tap into my superpower and keep going on a daily basis? So that's my why right there.
I think that's so important. And I think, though, I think it's important for kids to still get a job when they're, in high school or right out of high school so that they learn how to punch a clock, that they can be on time, that they can be dependable, that they can work with other people. And I'm struggling with that because I've raised a few of my children where I'm like, okay, mom's an entrepreneur, so that's all they know. They didn't see me when I was running colleges, working literally 75 hours a week, and they didn't see that. They don't remember that. They were too young. And so they think, oh, mom is at home now. And so I can do that too. And I'm like, wait, I put my time in. And so I think that it's a great example to our children that they could have anything that they want if they put their mind to it, but they got to do their time as well, I think sometimes. I think not everyone, but what are your thoughts about that?
Oh my gosh, so brilliant. I love that you're saying that, because it's the same thing what happens frequently on social media when we look at these
Mhm.
very accomplished coaches that have, 300,000 followers,
Mhm.
that you think, oh my gosh, it was like this Cinderella story, and here they are, they're successful. It's the same thing with us, right? They only see the end result of the hours of work that went into this. And I mean, I have a PhD, and sometimes my students in the classroom where I teach now, they ask me, oh, well, do you think I should go to graduate school? And I'm like, well, do you think you should go to graduate school? I mean, I'm not here to answer that question for you, because there will be many days where you're going to be like, why am I going to graduate school? And I'm not going to be there on those days.
Yeah.
So you need to know that yourself. So yeah, my daughters were drawing a Mother's Day card for me. And I think that a teacher probably asked them, put down what you think about your mom. And it shows me actually working out, because I'm also a fitness instructor, right? I have a little barbell on my back. And then it says, my mom is a hugger and an exerciser. And and I was like, oh, it's interesting. Doesn't even talk about my main job. And so I asked them about it. And at that point they were like, well, we know you're at home a lot, but we don't know what you do. And I thought, I'm doing a poor job in actually letting them know how I got there. So I think that for us, we have dinners at the table every evening. It's important that we actually share some of the things that we do during the day and some of the journeys that we took and some of the roads that didn't really lead anywhere. That doing a PhD is not the smartest people that graduated with their PhD. Absolutely not. It's definitely the ones that have the most resilience. So I think that our children need to hear that, because they sometimes think, well, I'm not smart enough. Yeah, I don't know. It's really about that. I think it's just about being the one that doesn't give up I think that's the one that will get the job, right? And I think that the main thing for my daughters sometimes is that they think, oh yeah, my mom is successful and here we have this life. But I need to share with them that there were many moments or years even where we really struggled. And that's going to be something that will probably happen in the future too. And it's still great experiences. They just need to look at this as it's all an experience. You just need to kind of like think about all this. It's just like your first attempt in learning, right? What did we just figure out and keep going? Yeah. Failure, right? Fail at the first attempt in learning. Yeah.
Yep. I like that. I like that. I love acronyms, so that's good too. So, what is one piece of advice you want to leave with our listeners if you could say anything to them?
My favorite acronym is NO, next opportunity. If somebody tells you no, to say, all right, next, right, we're moving on. And I think that's what we got to do. We just have to keep going, moving on. So I would encourage you, don't look at no as like, that's the end of the road. Nope, it's not.
That's good. That's so good. That's fantastic advice. Well, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
Yeah, so I am on hellohappinest.com. That's my website. My podcast is called Happy Healthy Hustle. And my name is Christiane Schroeter. Of course, connect with me on social media. Check out my book, How to Master Your Goals. And I can also share a freebie here with you that will show you actually some of my favorite tools, low cost. That's the emphasis about podcasting. So I'll have put together a little guide that will maybe help you get started with your podcast. If that's a dream that you have, or if you want to become a speaker, there are a lot of different tips and tricks in there that will help you.
Thank you. I love freebies, and I love when it has to do with listeners that can get something as well. So thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And moms, really just go out and find your passion and get to it. I love the NO, no. Look for your no, because you are going to have, you're one step closer to your next opportunity. So go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Cherise Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Cherise Walker.